In Canada, you can rent a home on a periodic basis, which is a month-to-month lease, or on a fixed-term basis. A fixed-term tenancy, often referred to as a lease, is an agreement to rent a property for a certain term. There'll be a start date and an end date, usually for a period about 1 year. Either way, you'll need to negotiate your residential lease with the landlord in order for you to sign it and secure the rental unit. So in today's video about residential leases, we're going to be covering month-to-month or annual contracts, common tenancy agreement details, who governs the relationship between you and your landlord, and what you need to know before you sign that dotted line. There are benefits to both types of agreements. If you need flexibility, a month-to-month agreement is probably the best one for you. If you want security, and if the guarantee of maintaining a home at a set price for a set period of time is important to you, then you should really look at the annual fixed-term agreement. Regardless of the term you choose, your landlord will likely require you to sign a tenancy agreement form. This might seem inconvenient, but it really helps to protect both you and the landlord in the event of unforeseen circumstances. In fact, you may wish to tread carefully in situations where no formal lease agreement is signed, as your rights as a tenant may be much more difficult to substantiate in the event that a conflict should arise between you and your landlord. Here is what you might see in an actual rental agreement. So what does a standard tenancy agreement commonly include? The length of the tenancy, when the rent is to be paid, what's included in the rent, who is responsible to pay for the utilities, whether pets or smoking is allowed, what amount of security deposit is required, when the rent may be increased, what's the tenant obligations or your obligations in regards to maintaining the property, what are the landlord's rights and their access to the unit for inspections and repairs, how about procedures that both the tenant and landlord must follow should either party wish to end the tenancy. Rental agreements are governed by the provincial or territorial legislation in whichever province the property is located. In BC, landlords are required to provide tenants with a copy of the tenancy agreement form as proof of the agreement between the landlord and the tenant. You can get a copy of the tenancy agreement form at the Government of BC website. In most other provinces, the government does not provide a tenancy agreement form, but you can obtain one from the various landlord and tenant advisory agencies. You can also refer to the Residential Tenancy Act in your province for the specific legal requirements that apply to your rental applications and rental contracts. Keep in mind that no matter what your lease agreement says, the Residential Tenancy Act in your province will prevail. If you're ever asked to sign a lease that contains unusual terms that are not allowed under your province's act, you may want to investigate further before you sign. It usually won't benefit you as a tenant or renter. If you're signing a fixed-term tenancy agreement, you're in this for the long haul. Be sure to understand and agree to all the terms laid out in the agreement. There are several things you need to consider before you sign that dotted line. Make sure that everything is in working condition and suits your needs. Open the cabinets, turn on the faucets, open and close the windows, and make sure the locks are in good condition. Take measurements to be sure all your furniture will actually fit in the unit, and make sure to check out the appliances and laundry facilities if they aren't in your suite. Make sure you take photos of any existing damage, such as the broken tiles, blinds, stains on the carpets, or nicks in the walls. These things should be listed in the rental agreement so your landlord doesn't come after you when you move out. Be sure you know exactly what's included in your monthly rent payment. You can ask about utilities, cable, laundry, and parking. Surprise expenses could put a strain on your budget. If you love to decorate, check with the landlord to see what they will allow. If you start painting walls or pounding nails without permission, it could be considered damage, resulting in the cancellation of your lease or worse, the loss of your damage deposit. If you own a pet, be sure to ask if pets are allowed, and if so, what type. Many places have a restriction on the size and type of pets allowed, if any. Don't be tempted to sneak in a pet, or you could be facing the cancellation of your lease, or worse, you may have to give up your beloved pet. You may have moved out to the suburbs to save that extra $100 or $200 in rent, but the extra distance could cost you an extra $200 to $300 just to drive to work. So be sure you consider the extra commuting expenses and amenities, as well as the other cost of living items before you commit to a year lease. What if you have to move before the lease is up? Maybe you found a job in another city, you've gotten married, or had the opportunity to purchase a property. Make sure you know what sort of penalty you'll be required to pay, and if this is something you can live with. If you just want to move out at the end of the term, know what sort of notice you need to provide to the landlord. If the landlord has told you that your pet is no problem, or that you can paint that mural on your living room wall, make sure these things are actually noted in the agreement. Once you've decided to proceed with the residential lease, it will be time for you to pick a solid home insurance policy to protect your personal belongings as well as your liability to others as the occupant of your new rental apartment. And if you need tenant insurance for your new rental unit, you can get a free quote from squareoneinsurance.com. So thanks for watching, everyone, and be sure to check out some of the other tenant resources up here.